What's up, guys? Simone Fan 101 here, and I finally making the video. My number six on my top 10 favorite video game series list. It's been a long time. I apologize, but we're getting it out of the way right now. So, be happy. For those of you who were at least paying attention. If you don't know, look on my channel, look up numbers 10, 9, 8, and 7, and look for my top 10 best video game series lists. I already have 4 videos down. I still have several more to go. But I want to get this done out of the way right now while I have the time. Now, my number 6 on my top 10 favorite video game series list, I've been playing this game series since I was a little kid. This is one of the first video games I ever played, actually, or a series. My number 6 on my top 10 video game series of all time is the Street Fighter games. Now, the Street Fighter games have been a big part of my childhood in terms of video gaming, full of great matches. Not great matches. I'm still stuck in WWE and wrestling. They're full of great games, great characters, memorable characters, and very good video game music. Like, I played. The first Street Fighter game I ever played was Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. This was back when I was doing a lot of emulation stuff. My older brother introduced it to me, and I played Street Fighter 2. Now, playing Street Fighter 2 allowed me to play play one of the best fighting games ever made. Street Fighter 2 is very much described as the Doom of the fighting game genre. The very first fighting game was not Street Fighter, it was Karate Champ. And then Street Fighter came out, not much happened there, but then Street Fighter 2 happened. And all of a sudden, arcades were going big, people were pumping in freaking quarters just to play as Ryu, or Ken, or Blanca, or, not Bison, you couldn't play as him in the arcade, but a lot of good characters, Chun-Li, Honda, Zangief, Guile, he's one of the main heroes of Street Fighter. And I played Street Fighter 2 when I was a kid, and I was blown away by it. Like, oh my god, this is awesome! I played it over and over again, and I played the other Street Fighter games that were on the console. There was Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which included the speed advantage. You can make the game go faster, as well as for the first time, play the Final Four bosses first sense, which was Balrog, then Vega, Sagat, and then Bison. And I didn't question until years later when I was like, I played Street Fighter 2. Where the hell was a Street Fighter 1? I never got to play an arcade machine of Street Fighter 1. I didn't get to play it until many years when I looked at emulation. I played it on arcade and TurboGrafx 16. I can kind of understand why I didn't get all that known. Is because the game wasn't as good as you think it might be. It was decent enough, but the controls were very wonky, and you couldn't exactly hit the special moves, the Hadouken, the Shoryuken, or the Tatsumaki Senpu Hyaku, which is the Hurricane Kick. Yes, I'm nerdy enough to know that. Shut the hell up. But yeah, just a lot of game making later. They almost made they made a Final Fight, which was originally going to be Street Fighter 89, and people were like, dude, this has nothing to do with Street Fighter. Let's just call it something else, and they called it Final Fight, which is good. It's a good game. I've been playing it a lot lately on my 3DS. But back to Street Fighter. The next series, and I played what else did I play on the Super Nintendo? There was a Street Fighter Alpha 2, which surprisingly enough, Alpha 1 and 3 was not on Super Nintendo, but Alpha 2 was. I find that funny. Super Street Fighter 2, which you got to play as 4 new characters, Fei Long, T-Hawk, DJ, and Cammy. And they were pretty good characters. My favorite of the 4, though, was always Fei Long. He was like the Bruce Lee, and I was always a fan of Bruce Lee. I have a Bruce Lee t-shirt in my closet. But yeah, there was just a lot and a lot of characters to play as, a lot of variety. But then they finally made they kept not finally made they kept on making revisions of Street Fighter 2 for years and years. Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Um, and then it wasn't until years later, they were making until they made Street Fighter 3. But before that, we had Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter EX, Street Fighter EX2, the EX2 Plus. Then we had Street Fighter 3. We had 3 separate versions. We had well, they were kind of different games. We had there was the first 2 versions of the game, but then there was the one that everyone knows, which everyone calls Third Strike. I think it was called Fight for the Future. It's more commonly known as Third Strike. An awesome fighting game and one of the best fighting games, period. Then Street Fighter 4 came out. And speaking of Street Fighter 4, a lot of people complained that it might not do so well because it was in 3D. Because you look at all the other Street Fighter games, they were still in 2D at the time when all these other games are going 3D. People were wondering, like, why aren't they going to 3D? And then they made the EX games. And when they when people saw the EX games and played them, like, go back to 2D. And thankfully Street Fighter 4 made up for the many mistakes that the EX game was made up for, and they made a couple versions. It was a lot of fun. Of course, there was the crossover games, which Capcom played a big part in doing. There was Street Fighter versus X-Men, which then there was Street Fighter versus Marvel, and then there was and then of course it split off to Marvel versus Capcom 2, Capcom 3, Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3, Tatsunoko versus Capcom, all of which include at least a couple characters from Street Fighter, one of which is always Ryu. He's the poster boy. He's the main character. And you just had a lot of great games. The gameplay was always very solid. Characters, like I said, who doesn't know characters like Akuma, Gouken, Bison, freaking Guile. Guile's one of the most memorable characters due to his theme song. And that's another reason I love the games, because of the music. It had a lot of great music. The Ken Masters theme, Guile's, the running joke being that everything goes with, like, Guile's theme song goes with everything. I find that funny. You just had a lot of variety, a lot of moves, and a lot of consoles has Street Fighter games. Even the 3DS had Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 4, and I even downloaded it for like $5 on a 3DS sale. It took a lot of my memory or some shit, but I got it, and I'm having fun with it. And I've been playing Street Fighter ever since I was young. That's not gonna stop. And I think there was recently, a few years ago, they released like Super Street Fighter 2 HD Remix, and they featured completely redrawn graphics and new sound, which was a lot of fun. You just had a lot of great stuff. I mean, the Street Fighter games, everyone has their favorite. If I had to choose my favorite, it would either have to be Third Strike or Super Street Fighter 4. I haven't played Street Fighter 5, so I can't give my opinion of it. But from what I've seen of the video game footage, it looks fucking awesome. Street Fighter 5 looks amazing, and Street Fighter is still going strong. You look at all the fighting games over the years that came and went. A lot of great games. The only ones that seem to keep Street Fighter company is Mortal Kombat. I mean, they've had the reboot Mortal Kombat games, which are fucking great. And I wish I could include Mortal Kombat on my top 10 video game series list, because it's not on here, sadly. But it was just a great series. There's only one other video game series I think is better than it. I'll get to that soon. But just a lot of fun. A lot of fun was the Street Fighter. I mean, look at all the other fighting games that came and went over the years. I mean, Virtua Fighter has seemed to calm down, basically. I don't see any new Virtua Fighter games. Killer Instinct, for the longest time, was stuck in limbo until they made Killer Instinct 3, and even though it's a little bit simple, it's still a lot of fun to play. Uh, Tekken. Tekken's doing fine, although their glory days, that you could say, are over. Um, Dead or Alive. I haven't seen another Dead or Alive game for a while. Maybe somebody can help me out there. Um, Soul Calibur. I don't see any new Soul Calibur games being made. King of Fighters. I think they still make King of Fighters, but you don't hear about them as often as you do some other games. So Street Fighter is still going strong, and I can't wait for the multiple revisions that we're inevitably going to get for Street Fighter 5. And a lot goes into these game series. And look, some people complain, and I will say, there are some crappy games on the Street Fighter series. You could say that the very first Street Fighter game for arcade and TurboGrafx 16 wasn't that good. The EX games were not that good at all. There were several other, spin-offs over the years, like Puzzle Fighter, which was basically a Tetris game with like mini versions of the characters. It was just it's gone through a lot of phases, but Street Fighter is still going strong. It's still having various revisions and new characters adding to the mix. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Tune in for my number 5 of my top 10 video game series of all time list. It is a series that you should remember. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time with hopefully either my WCPW review or tonight's TNA review. So until next time, guys, peace.